So back in my student days, I used to work in my summer holidays at a nursing home. That was great. They had a residential part and they had the actual high care part, the nursing home part. Now I was the groundsman, I used to run around and look after the gardens and that sort of stuff, but I'd occasionally get asked to do odd jobs and help and lift stuff and so on. So occasionally I'd get into the nursing home, and I'd have to say that that was some of the saddest moments of my pre-physio career, was seeing the deterioration in the brains and the minds of the people in the nursing home. However, I did see some positives, and they were positives like the fact that they could sleep as long as they liked, that they could watch as much television as they liked because they'd just be put in front of the television set and they'd just stare at the blank screen all day. They even got to the stage where they didn't have to eat very much because someone would come and have to spoon feed them. So they didn't have to expend energy there or worry about choosing what their meal would be or anything like that. They certainly didn't enjoy a late night aperitif or a nice cold beer. Sometimes they got to the stage where they wouldn't have to eat at all. They'd just put a tube in, and how easy is that? They just squirt this fluid down the tube. And they could not have to worry about relating to people or, all those annoying things that you've got to do when you have conversations with people, which is pay attention and give people your time and your energy. Didn't have to worry about that at all. So, there was all these positives about the easy life, really, if you were suffering dementia. So I thought today we would talk about the 6 steps that I see will really muck your brain up and give you the easy life. You can end up in a nursing home with a nasogastric tube, lying in bed all day and not have a care in the world. So, how do you muck your brain up? Well, definitely stop moving. Unfortunately, there's so much evidence out there indicating that this isn't a good start, is it? Okay. Oh yeah, there we go. We've got a working one. Because when you move, when you exercise, and this is exercise that stretches you a bit, you do all these amazing things. You produce what they call brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which is a growth factor that actually stimulates more cellular production, that is more neurons in certain parts of your brain. But more importantly, it stimulates connection between neurons, between your brain cells. And most of the things that we learn, that we decide, the skills that we gain are all because we make various connections through these neuronal pathways that become the habits of our skills and abilities that we then take through our entire life. But you can learn more, you can gain skills till the end of your days if your neurons continue to make connections. And this brain-derived neurotrophic factor stimulated by exercise will do exactly that. The other thing that exercise does, of course, is it controls blood sugar. Now, our glucose levels in our blood have to be maintained in a very narrow band. If we go above that or below that, we start causing ourselves problems. One of the important ones being death, possibly. So your exercise actually helps keep that glucose in a proper range. And that's really important. It also has an anti-inflammatory effect because glucose running amok is quite inflammatory for your liver, your kidney, your brain and other organ systems. So you don't want that. The other thing that exercise does, of course, is angiogenesis. It actually stimulates the production of more vascular pathways, so more arteries and veins. That's important, obviously, because that's about delivering oxygen to your tissues. So if you are losing vasculature, if you're losing blood vessels, then you're not getting the oxygen to the brain cells that they may need, and therefore you can develop a vascular dementia. So trick number one is, please, if you want an easy life in a nursing home at the end of your life, please stop moving. The other thing is stop connecting. You know, that annoying thing about socialisation, you know, how uncomfortable you might feel in social situations. Well, definitely walk away from that. Walk away from family and friends. Stop communicating. Stop dealing with people, because for some weird reason, it stimulates our brain. When we relate to people, our brain has to do a whole lot of work, and that maintains neural pathways. You don't want to maintain neural pathways. You want to end up in the nursing home. So you want to let the neural pathways decay and decline and actually get pruned off. So please stop relating to people. Oh, by the way, the research indicates quite clearly that as people become more socially isolated, the risk of dementia rises dramatically. As they become more socially isolated, the risk of mental illness rises dramatically. And it actually stimulates changes in the structure and function of your brain. Weird. Interesting that the Surgeon General in the US, I think last year, announced that the biggest health issue, and he put this in front of obesity and smoking, which are the next two in the States, was loneliness, because of the health issues that they cause, not just mental health issues, but physical health issues that loneliness stimulated. So definitely, if you want to end up in the nursing home and have the easy life, stop connecting to people, stop relating to people. So, I'm not having a good run with these pens. Okay, let's try a green. Oh, yeah, that looks good. So, number 3, stop sleeping. Definitely stop sleeping. It's quite clear now that sleep is probably the cornerstone of good health. Without good sleep, without sleeping probably at least 7, 8, even longer as we get older, you start providing opportunities for brain decay. One of the interesting things about when we sleep is we have actually this system, it's called the lymphatic system, that kind of washes our brain as we sleep. Now, with dementia, a couple of the proteins that seem to collect in our brain with dementia is a thing called amyloid plaques and tau tangles. Interestingly, when we sleep, literally our brain cells kind of separate a bit more and create more space around the cells, so the cerebrospinal fluid can kind of run down through the brain, clearing out that debris, those amyloid plaques and tau tangles, clearing the stuff that collects in our brain. So sleep is really important for this brain washing effect. Remember Snow White? Love the story of Snow White. She has this really good sleep, doesn't she? And she wakes up and she lives happily ever after. Well, there's a point to be taken for the rest of our lives. Sleep protects the brain, it repairs the brain, it cleans the brain. It also synthesizes learning. As you would know, in dementia, you start to lose contact with your memories. It's an important part of sleep, where our memories of the day are synthesized into longer term memories. Sleep seems to able to help maintain the connections with our past and allow us then also to project into our future. Sleep also helps clear and control blood sugar. We've already talked about the effect, or the inflammatory effect, of high blood sugar. Interestingly, the brain also, when it sleeps, has this mitigating factor for inflammation generally, not only in the brain but around the body. So, again, if you want the easy life, definitely don't sleep for long, interrupt your sleep, don't have good sleep quality, go to bed late, get up early, and do all things that interfere with your sleep, like drink stimulants late and have lots of light around and all that sort of stuff. We can talk about that at another time. Now, Number 4 for getting yourself into the easy life, into the dementia life, is keep eating these. What do I mean by that? Definitely stay away from protein, because as we age, we tend to, the research would suggest, we eat less protein and less quality protein. Tend to get more into carbohydrates. What are carbohydrates? Basically long form sugars. So they break down into sugar. That raises your blood glucose and causes the problems that we've already talked about. So definitely don't eat protein, eat lots of carbs. And where we find carbs these days? In a lot of processed foods. Where do we find the processed foods? In the aisles of the supermarket. And if you walk around the edge of your supermarket, what do you find? There's fresh produce, generally, the unprocessed produce. And that I'm talking about your veggies and your fruits and your greens, but also your meats and your fish and so on. Whole foods are the things that are good for your brain. If you're going to start stuffing your brain up, then definitely get into the processed foods with all the chemicals and the carbs and everything that's thrown into those. So keep eating those. And remember, these foods, they're constructed foods. They're constructed to make you consume. So lots of sodium, lots of sugar, lots of saturated fats, and not the good saturated fats. So why? Because it's delicious. It's meant to addict you. So keep eating those if you want to stuff your brain up. Oh, and smoking and drinking. We've heard a lot about smoking and drinking, haven't we? Well, it turns out both are really bad for your brain. Drinking alcohol is a toxin. After, probably the age of 30, we start losing brain cells rather than gaining them. And when you're post 50, you're probably losing up to 80,000, 100,000 brain cells a day. Yes, they're just being lost, just as the process of aging. How do you accelerate that? Well, a good way is to smoke and to drink. Hi everyone, this is the Cheesy Interruption. If you're interested in actually building a better brain and escaping the clutches of dementia later in life, then can I recommend reading The Age-Proof Brain by Dr. Mark Milstein and How to Make a Good Brain Great by Dr. Daniel Amen. There are links in the description to those two books. Now, back to our feature. So one of the other things that smoking does, of course, is that it stops the formation of new blood vessels. In fact, it actually damages blood vessels and it increases that risk of vascular dementia. Remember we talked about angiogenesis, that ability to form through exercise. We stimulate new blood vessels. Smoking pulls all that back and it destroys that ability. So both drinking and smoking will rapidly increase your risk of developing some form of dementia. Now the other one let's talk about is definitely, if you want to end up in a nursing home with the easy life, stop learning. Stop challenging your brain. Remember I said that BDNF stimulates more neural connections between the cells of your brain. Now those connections may be made, but they will be strengthened as you require the brain to do work, and that is new learning. Now I don't mean necessarily playing brain games and stuff like that, but actually learning and stimulating something that's really stimulating, like learning a language, learning musical instruments, something that will really challenge you. So if you want to end up in a nursing home, definitely no challenges, okay? Stop doing stuff in your life as you get older that challenges your thinking, challenges your skills, challenges your learning. If you want to accelerate your entry into the world of dementia, then these 6 steps are for you to take. Stop moving, stop connecting with people, stop sleeping well, eat crap, smoke and drink, and stop learning. There you are. I hope that's really helpful for your entry into the easy life and being a dementia patient. Now, obviously, that's not what I want you to do. And I'm sure none of you want to go down that track. You want a life that you live to the full. You want a life where no matter when you might drop dead, the life you've lived up to that point has been full, has been exciting, has been filled with learning and challenge, has been filled with excitement, has been filled with new experiences. If you want that sort of life, then you need to adopt all these things. You need to move, you need to connect to people, you need to sort out your sleeping, you need to eat well, you need to at least lessen the smoking and drinking, if not remove it altogether from your life, and you need to stimulate your brain by learning. I hope that's been helpful. There's some links below, some great books to read that'll help you on this journey. Catch you in the next video.